Hey folks, BlackCross here, and welcome back to another video, guys. Today, I figure I'd give you a little bit of an in-depth of me, specifically some of my most hated and most annoying stuff that I have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Now, let me be frank. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, this is going to be one of those video game things that you hate stuff, right? No, we're not talking about video games. We're actually talking about everyday life that I have to go through. Now, regardless of who you are and how you may feel, these things may not be your most hated stuff, but for me specifically, I have to go through them on an average basis, to a point to where I'd rather do anything else than have to go through them. Or for that matter, I get so annoyed whenever something like this actually happens. What I mean is that my bottom 10. For those of you who are Strong by Email fans, you are very well aware as to what this is. For those that don't know, let me give you a brief history lesson. So there's this Flash animation cartoon series by the name of Strong Bad Emails, and this particular character by the name of Strong Bad answers an email basically talking about his top 10, and he says, instead of doing a top 10, I'm gonna do a bottom 10! And he lists off the 10 things that he either dislikes or he is absolutely annoyed of or stuff like that. It's very comedic for that matter, but today is actually going to be not just in a form of comedic, but actual things that I actually don't like to do or things that I just get relatively annoyed. I will scratch this off. I'm not going to include any controversial subjects or any political subjects or anything of that matter. Even any drama that's going on outside in the world and stuff like that, I'm not going to refer to any of that. I'm just referring to stuff that I myself have an annoying issue with on a day-to-day basis, depending on what they are. So with that being said, let's talk about the first one, shall we? So the first one is buying new jeans. Now, you might be questioning that. Buying new jeans, how is this a problem? Well, for those that don't know, I weigh 300 pounds and fit into a size 46. However, though, I have to get a size 48 in order to fit it properly. And not only that, I have to get a specific type of pair of jeans for a little bit more leg room. As someone who works at Walmart, I need that extra leg space in order to move around freely. I don't want to feel restricted within my calves and my size. And trust me whenever I say this, you won't have any idea how that's like fitting into a pair of tight jeans until you've had to go through that. Let me tell you something. It's probably one of the most cajoining and the most restricting things to go through when you find a pair of jeans that fit you, but they don't fit you well. You know what I mean? They fit you tightly. I don't know how people do this. I don't know why people even remotely go for tight jeans when in reality, you can't move. You really can't move. Not only that, but even a place like Walmart, where ordinarily you could find your size, I can never seem to get my size. They just don't have them in stock. In fact, for the longest time, I've had to pay 30 bucks just to get a pair of carpenter pants, which are these right here. They're basically pants to where you can put stuff in the pockets and there's a little bit more room in there to where that way your legs don't feel tightened up when you put in stuff on there, like either your cell phone, your wallet, your paintbrush, your screwdriver, or your freaking rocket launcher, depending on what you're putting in your pocket. Don't ask about that last part. Ultimately, it's one of the most annoying things, and I know people are going to be like, well, just lose a couple of pounds of weight. That should be the easiest answer, right? You would think that. But people will have told you by now that losing weight is not an easy task. It really isn't. It's one of the most hardest things to go through in life, is just trying to lose weight. And believe me, I've been trying to lose weight for a number of years. If nothing else, COVID has screwed me even more so, in which where I've gained more weight. Like I said, I now weigh 300 pounds. And I'm not ashamed to actually admit that, because really in all honesty, it isn't so much of an embarrassing issue, more like it's an issue that needs to be addressed now, and I need to lose a little bit more weight. And if I can, that'd be great. And if I can shrink down to pants size, that would be even more great. That means I can actually buy a pair of pants in store and not have to go through the mundane task of having to order a pair of jeans online. And speaking of buying stuff, number 2, buying new pairs of shoes. So let's talk about this. Now, here's the thing: it's not so much It's not so much buying pairs of shoes that's the problem. It's getting them to fit right. Now, I don't mean like size-wise, I mean like being able to wear them properly. I'm sure you probably heard this phrase, but if you haven't, you probably haven't heard the phrase of wearing the shoes out. So when you buy brand new shoes, they're going to be relatively stiff, right? You're not going to be able to get much use out of them until you wear them officially, to where they actually fit on your foot, and depending on your foot, you may either have high arches, maybe your foot's a lot more wider, maybe you need more toe room and stuff like that, all that stuff. And the problem is, a brand new pair of shoes will not tell you immediately if it's going to work for you or not. You have to wear them out before you can determine if they are going to be the perfect fit for you. Not only that, shoes can range from any price point to basic $10 to $250 depending on what you're looking for. And in my case, I need to find a pair of shoes that A, are durable, B, are non-slip preferably, 3, something to where water won't leak into them, even though I don't have that issue, but sometimes when you drop stuff, things happen. So when you want to look for a specific type of shoe, that's going to add up, unfortunately. And I hate having to pay for a pair of shoes that's practically over $50 and it won't even last a year. Yeah, that gets to be annoying a lot. For a while, though, I had to go through this mundane task of trying to find the perfect pair of shoes that will A, last long enough based on the price, and B, will fit all of my basic needs that I needed for in terms of wearing a pair of shoes. I mean, I can't wear sandals to work, that's for sure, and I certainly can't wear my frickin' house slippers. So yeah, that's not gonna work well for me. So what am I supposed to do? Go through the mundane task of trying every shoe that you find and see what works. And if it does work, that's great, until the company decides to discontinue it. And I certainly would hate to go to see a foot specialist, because trust me when I never say this, next to actually going to the specialist itself, buying for that particular insole that fits for your foot is very costly. So yeah, I just hate going through that mundane task of every single time I need to get a new pair of shoes and going through all that. I'd rather just buy the same pair of shoes over 100 times and not have to go through any mundane ordeal that I have to go through and stuff like that. And for a while, I had found a solution. Then the season changes, and then I have to figure out how the hell am I going to find the same shoe that I usually get. It's very annoying, and it's definitely something that I hate to go through. It's something you can't just like order online. You very much have to try the shoe on yourself just to see if it's going to work out well. And if it remotely works out well, you better hope it lasts long enough to where it actually meets the demands within the price point. Like I said, I hate paying more than $50 for a pair of shoes. For other people, I know they do this on an everyday basis, and to me personally, I find that's quite disturbing, to be perfectly honest. Even a pair of Jordans shouldn't cost that much, yet for some reason people pay thousands of dollars for a pair of Jordans. Makes no sense to me whatsoever! Number 3, auto maintenance. Here's something that you should know. On the one hand, I would just take my car to any auto shop or anything like that to do maintenance work and stuff like that, you know? There'll be some cases in which where I don't have a specific machine or some kind of thing to do the repairs that's necessary, like for example, brake pads, sometimes even a rotor, the little rotor blade thing, whatever you call it on the wheel and stuff like that. You know, stuff like that. I know for a fact I wouldn't be able to fix it myself and all that stuff, but people say you should be able to do your own oil change. Ladies and gentlemen, how frustrating do you think it is to do an oil change? Surprisingly a lot more frustrating than you think, and I've done this a couple of times, and I really hate to go through them. So rather than go through the mundane task of trying to do the oil change myself, I'd rather go to a specialist that can do it. Will I be paying more? Arguably, yeah, but no offense, that's what they're being trained for. That's what they went to school for. That's what they're doing the career for, is because of that. So why do it myself when I can just pay somebody to do it for me? It's easy, and it's something that I don't have to worry about. Yes, it is costly, but you know what? I'd rather have someone else do it than me having to go through the trouble trying to figure out how I'm going to jack the heavy son of a gun to lift up, to get underneath there, to get to the bolt that I don't have the proper tools to unscrew with, so I have to hand unscrew it with a freaking wrench, and then have to drain it to catch the oil with some pan that I may not even have, then trying to figure out how to empty the oil. Like, where do you take it? Where do you take the oil? You can't just dump it because that's illegal. I'm pretty sure it is illegal. I'm pretty sure within the legal rights, it is illegal to just dump oil out into any field whatsoever. Plus, it's bad for the environment, so don't do that. But yeah, I hate auto maintenance. And it's bad enough that, you know, depending on the car, depends on what the maintenance is, you know? You may have to have, like, an alternator repaired. Or maybe you need a new battery, or, you know, it could be a number of problems. Some of them are relatively simplistic, and some of them are relatively annoying and pricey, and you just, why can't a car just stay functional for more than 10 years? Come on, is that a problem? Maybe that is a problem. Maybe I'm just being too greedy at times. Hey, I'm paying $10,000, close to $20,000 for a car. At least let it run well for a long time. Number 4, dairy and frozen coolers. Alright. I need to explain myself for a little bit. So, for those that don't know, I work at Walmart. And for a while, they've been shoving me in dairy specifically, but on occasion I do get put into frozen. Now, you may not realize this, but in those coolers, you have to have your overstock in those coolers. And depending on how long you're going to be in there, they want it set a certain way. They want it fixed up properly. They want everything to be nice and neat, which makes sense because it's easier to go in there to grab the stuff and get out and stuff like that. You definitely don't want to be stuck in there for more than 5-10 minutes at a time. Unfortunately, though, depending on how much overstock you have and depending on what you're needing to do back in there, you're going to be in there for a good 30 minutes or so. Especially if you're doing creamers and stuff. If you're doing the milk and creamers and everything like that, you're going to be in there for a pretty good lengthy amount of time. And that place freezes. It does. It may not be like sub-zero freezing, but it's certainly cold enough to feel it. And I don't know if it's because of an age thing or if it's because of COVID. I don't know which one is which. But my body cannot adapt to the cold well. Like, it's hard for me to get adjusted well enough into temperature-wise and not feel like I'm freezing to death. Like, it hurts my body so badly. Even the frozen cooler itself, I step in there for just a brief minute or two, and all of a sudden, my shoulder feels a sense of like, get out of there now, or you're gonna be hurting. And trust me, I feel it. And it's just annoying. I hate it. I don't know. Again, it could be an age thing. I'm only 34, but at the same time, dude, it's just... I hate the cold! Number 5, devices that turn on. This may not have happened to anybody, and I'm sure no one knows what I'm referring to. But I've had this happen a couple of times. Specifically on 2 major devices. Technically a third one, which isn't mine, is Delmar's. But devices that just turn on somehow. Now, it's one thing if it turns off on its own. That's somewhere within the wiring or something like that. Could be wearing out. But turning on by itself, that makes no sense. I've even mentioned it to some of my friends, and even they are confused. They're like, how is that a problem? How is it turning on its own? It just does, and I don't know how to explain it. So, I have a television downstairs that somehow magically turns itself on whenever we have it turned off, you know? We turn it off, we go to bed, but then when we get up, it is magically turned on the blue screen, waiting for any device to be turned on, which makes no sense whatsoever. It's like, okay, why are you turned on? I turned you off. I know I turned you off. Why are you turned on? And even crazier than that, mine and Delmar's PC, my old PC, not my new one now, but my old PC, had the issue of where it would just turn on its own. Have no understanding as to how that happens, or why it happens, it just happens. And it's not so much turning on that's an annoyances, it's not knowing the cause of why it just turns on. If anyone can make sense as to why it just turns on its own, be my guest, because I would love an explanation, because quite frankly, that just gets annoying, where it just turns on its own, even though you clearly turned it off, and technically devices these days have a power save feature. So why the hell do they turn on their own? What is the purpose of that feature? Or if it isn't a feature, it certainly is a faulty that cannot be explained. I've been trying to figure out this mystery for years, and I've never got the answer. In fact, most tech whizzes that I've talked to, that I've explained this situation to, look at me in confusion, which I completely understand. Number 6, updates. Now, I understand that sometimes you have to have an update. It depends on the update, depends on what it does, depends on the improvements. You know what? I would understand if it's sensible and if it actually does the update of what it's supposed to do. Other times, though, some updates barely do anything at all, and it doesn't remotely fix the problem that is stated to fix. If nothing else, it makes it worse. In all honesty, I've had experiences with updates all the time, whether it's from the phones, my computer, my video game consoles, whatever device that requires an update. Anytime I see that, I always groan in disbelief and thinking to myself, why does it need an update now? You know, it's like, I don't even use half of the features that it's updated for. Like, seriously, whenever Sony gives out an update thing, I look at it and I go, half of it I don't even use anyway, so why do I have this update? Why is it needed? It's one thing if it does, like, maintenance work and stuff like that. I would understand that, to where that way it keeps up and stays functional without degrading over time and stuff like that, especially if all of a sudden, for some reason, the program just isn't running the way it's supposed to. It's another thing if it doesn't actually fix the program, and instead it does something worse. I'm sure some of you have had this happen, where it doesn't update, and it doesn't fix the problem that you have a problem with, and instead it creates a new problem that you didn't want to have. I always think to myself, I'm like, can you just, like, not update? Can you just not update? But sometimes the system will automatically demand an update before you can even use it properly. There are applications that will not turn on until it gets the update. And I'm like, you don't need it. There's nothing wrong with you. Why do you need the update? And what's even worse, here's what's worse about some updates. Some updates will change stuff all around. Depending on what that is, it will just change it. And it will just, like, make you so confused as to, like, where is it at now? Because it's like they'll change something so drastically that it's basically a slice of life that you normally have that function. And when you go to do that function, it is not there. And you look at it and you go, what the hell did you do with that? Why did you get rid of it? And it may not even have been got rid of it. They may have just moved it because they thought it wasn't necessary, even though you yourself use that function all the time. I've had that happen a couple times where I use a specific function and I use that because it makes things so much simpler for me. Then they'll do an update and either remove that from the default screen and put it somewhere else. And then I go, where's it at now? What'd you do with it? Why? Of all the things you could have fixed, why'd you change that? Why'd you change anything? I get it. It's probably because I'm probably either a boomer or a millennium. I'm, after all, 34, but still, to a point though, it's so annoying whenever they do updates, and sometimes the updates don't actually fix anything, and instead they just make things worse. And it's like, if you're gonna make any update, at least improve stuff. Don't just change stuff and it not work functionally, because guess what? People like me get annoyed real easy about this, and that's why it's on my bottom 10. Number 7, white headlights. Regardless, depending on who you are or how you feel or depending on what your situation is and stuff like that, you may have had the option between two bulbs, the warm bulb or the white bulbs, depending on which bulb you're going to go with, depending on your personality. I'm not judging that. I am judging the bulbs themselves. I prefer a warm atmosphere. I mean, the white walls are bad enough on their own, but you know what? With the amount of stuff that I have covering the walls, it doesn't bother me nearly as bad. And if I had a choice, I would paint the walls something else. Maybe a little bit darker tone. Not completely black or gray, but more like a cream, maybe even more of a beige color. You get what I'm saying? You know, give it a warmer atmosphere. Make it more comfortable. Make it more relaxing. Versus having something pure white. And a white bulb would make it a whole lot colder. Like seriously, if you ever put a warm bulb and then switched it out and changed it for a white bulb, all of a sudden the entire atmosphere feels a lot colder. And you wouldn't think it's that bad until you're in the room with it. And then you just go, did it just get colder or is it just me? And yeah, I've talked about this already, but I hate that atmosphere. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about headlight bulbs. Yes, headlight bulbs. You know, the very bulbs that you need in order to see in the dark. Except when those same beams are pointed at your eye socket! So yeah, imagine going down the highway and you happen to face a number of cars with headlights. Which one's more painful, do you think? The warm color bulbs or the white color bulbs? Surprisingly, the white is more painful on the eyes, especially if the car/truck is at the right level and the headlights are right within eye view point. Fuck you, you demonic bastard! Fuck you and your fucking white headlights! Actually, depending on where you live, you may very well have one of the very rare and unusual and the most even more disturbing creatures where they decide to use blue headlights. Yeah, apparently that's a thing. Now, I don't know if it's because of the LED headlights, possibly. I mean, I'm sure that's probably what it is, but for some reason, there's a case in which where the LEDs specifically tell you either the warm or white. And I would prefer it, and I would be very happy if you would choose the warm bulbs. You will still be able to see. You know, you will still be able to see in the dark. I promise you that much. Number 8, stairs. Take a wild guess. Number 9. No, seriously. Take a wild guess as to why I hate stairs. Take a wild guess. Number 9. Audio levels. I think a number of people are starting to realize this issue, but I've been realizing it for a while. And I was reading up on this, and thankfully, I'm not the only one who's experienced this issue. It seems like everybody is witnessing this problem. The weird thing, though, is that when people have done the research, it's only been remotely to application services, like streaming services and stuff like that. But the weird thing is, it's also affecting modern day gaming, as well as, like, for example, Blu-ray or 4K televisions and stuff like that. And there's no rhyme or reason as to why this is an issue, but it is. And what I'm referring to is the audio frequency level. For example, why is it that the background music and the sound effects are louder than the frickin' dialogue? You know, the very thing that you need in order to understand what's going on within the story. Unless they don't speak at all, that's different. But most films do have speaking in them. Most people are talking in them. And you want to be able to hear what they're talking about. And it's kind of hard to whenever the music in frickin' most arts realms is louder than what they're able to say. And at that point you just go, what'd they say? What'd they say? So here you are, you're turning up the level, and it's even louder than you could ever hear. And you still can't hear what they're saying. According to what some experts are saying, is a compression issue and stuff like that, but it's not just, like I said, streaming applications. It is also affected on Blu-rays and most gaming, for that matter. I'm always thankful whenever there's a video game that allows you to adjust the audio frequency levels, so I always turn up the dialogue option to the max and lower everything else down. That way I can hear what they're saying. But even after having max volume on audio dialogue, having sound effects, sounds, and music down to like 50%, sometimes it feels like nothing's changed, and I don't know why. It's very much an annoying issue, and it's one thing too to experience it in game. It's another thing too whenever I'm recording something, like for example whenever I'm doing my recording videos and stuff like that, I constantly have to adjust the audio because the frequency level isn't right. I want it to be perfect where you can hear the video game audio and my audio. And if it doesn't match up well to where it works, then I have to fix that. And it can be kind of annoying depending on how it is. But I'm always glad that I'm able to adjust stuff easily depending on the game itself. If the game has it to where you have multiple audio options, that's great. That means I can adjust it to a certain degree to where that way you can still hear the character's audio and the music isn't blaring over my audio and stuff like that. It's another thing whenever it doesn't have that option. Then I'm fucked. I have nothing else I can do. But yeah, let me know if you have that same problem, because trust me whenever I say this needs to be fixed. Badly. And finally, number 10. Not serving hamburgers at breakfast hours. So, as confusing as this might be, allow me to explain myself. I am normally a night shift worker, which means I work at the nighttime, which means my hours of supper time is anywhere between 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. You know, before I go to sleep and everything like that, it's within that time frame. And whenever I just get off of work, sometimes I want a hamburger. I want a cheeseburger preferably, but I digress. I want a burger. I want a hamburger. I want to eat the hamburger. So, a few years ago, you used to be able to go to any known fast food restaurant and ask for a burger. They'll give you the spiel of being like, it'll take about 10 minutes or so. Is that okay? And then you go, yeah, I'm perfectly fine. I'm okay. I can wait. I'm relatively a patient guy, and I have no problem waiting on a burger, especially if I want one, you know? Especially if I want to go to like either Burger King or McDonald's, Wendy's for that matter too. Any place that serves a hamburger, cheeseburger, stuff like that, I am willing to wait on that. I have no problems whatsoever. But slowly, over time, they just go, nope, we can't serve during this hour. But you can. You technically can. And they're like, nope, we can't serve it during breakfast hours. You used to, though. We don't anymore. What? What? So, yeah, and for a very while now, very slowly, restaurants that used to serve cheeseburgers for breakfast are now not serving them. The very reason why I went to those places is to get a cheeseburger. And I can't get a cheeseburger. Why? Even Burger King, okay, Burger King, regardless of how you want to make this joke or not, Burger King, you're telling me you won't serve a burger during breakfast hours. I'm sorry, who are you again, and why? Recently, Wendy's have stopped serving their burgers during breakfast hours, and that's my favorite restaurant to get a burger. Their freaking Baconator is beautiful. I love it. And I can't get it anymore because of stupid freaking corporate decisions. I only have a few places now that can actually serve them. Technically 3 where you can get a burger at breakfast hours. There's Cracker Barrel, except it's a restaurant, not a fast food restaurant. So in other words, you have to go in there and get it. Or depending on you, if you have their application service, which I don't, you can order it on your phone and stuff like that. which can take time, depending. Which, I guess that wouldn't be a problem. I don't know, I haven't tried that as much, but still to a point. Then there's Dairy Queen, which Dairy Queen's burger is pretty good, especially a certain one that I like. That one's pretty good. And then there's Sonic. You can get a burger at Sonic. But the taste of Sonic burgers isn't as good, especially for its price. Sonic burgers are pretty expensive nowadays for some odd reason, and I don't know why they're so expensive, and the quality within the patty isn't nearly as good, I'm afraid. Like, I would actually pick 5 other places than Sonic. I will actually say that. Sonic isn't as good as it used to be. And if you are someone that works within Sonic or something like that, mention that to them. Improve their menu. It needs it, especially when you charge that much for a burger. It's pretty stupid. But yeah, it's like, I love cheeseburgers. I love cheeseburgers. They're my personal favorite food, next to like pizza, lasagna, spaghetti, so on and so forth. But I love a cheeseburger. And you know what? The classic cheeseburger is perfect to end the day. You remove that, I'm a little bit cranky. I'm a little bit cranky. And just can you just bring that option back? Can you bring that option back? Can you bring me the option of being able to order a cheeseburger for breakfast? Can I just have that? Can I please? Can I? I know some people be like, well, can't you fix one? I mean, yeah, but that's the whole point of going to a fast food restaurant. You save up having to fix it yourself. You know? I don't know what to say. I don't know what I'm trying to say. But what I'm trying to say is this, is that if I want a burger, I want a burger. Don't take that option away from me. So anyway, though, that was my bottom 10. Let me know in the comments below. Are you in that same boat as I am of any of these 10s? What are your bottom 10s? What are the things that you find the most annoying in your day-to-day life? I'm sure there's quite a bit of them. And you know what? Let's just have fun with it. Let's have fun with the bottom 10s here and bring that as like a trend, you know? I want to see more people talk about their bottoms 10s because I think that'd be hilarious, you know? I think it would be. Although, specifically, bottom 10s, and not your bottom, because that would not end well, I think.
You know, but dance again, like the rhythm's down your pants now.
Anyway, though, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. This is BlackCross signing off. Catch you guys later.